the new era of oligarchy in this country. And look, I have not checked lately in terms of economic and wealth inequality numbers as of late, but it is, I would imagine, extraordinarily high. And certainly COVID did not do much for that. And certainly the rollback of the stuff in the American Rescue Act did not do much for that. And I would also argue the failure of passing Build Back Better did not do much of that. Now, none of those are tax bills, but they were bills that would have provided either essentially decommodified a lot of stuff for people, or provided them funds in which they could deal with the commodification of stuff. Here is Senator Raphael Warnock of Georgia in the Senate Finance Committee hearing yesterday on Treasury Secretary nominee Scott Bessent. It's not that Bessent is somehow unique in the Trump administration. He is a $500 millionaire, just a wealthy guy who, and that's what he declared. I mean, let's be honest, you know.
Yeah.
But 500 millionaire, and he has certain class interests. And the two-step they always do is like, we want to give tax cuts to everybody. It's just that we're going to increase the rate of tax cuts of how much money you make on the top end. So the net has always got to go to increasing wealth disparity. That's the giveaway. We know we have to bring along some of the peons to have our tax cuts bigger. But also remember, the 2017 tax cuts, they in 2025, they revert for the vast majority of people, but continue on for business and wealthy people. So here's Warnock. And just to be clear, households with income in the top 1% will receive an average tax cut of more than $60,000 in 2025. That's compared with an average tax cut of less than $500 for households in the bottom 60%. $500 is a significant amount of money if you are living in the bottom 60%. But and 60,000, probably not that much if you're in the 1%, although it's significant if you're in the 1%. And we're really talking about the 0.01%, where 60,000 wouldn't be nothing. But it's more. The 60,000, what that 60,000 does for someone in the 1% is make them a lot more money. Mm-hmm. What that $500 does is it pays like maybe the energy bill for 2 months. Good.
I think we need to be fiscally responsible. We need to work to close the deficit and bring the national debt under control. In 2013, Congress extended the Bush tax cuts for everyone
Pause it for 1
except those
second.
making.
Now, let me just say, because I have to, that we need taxes. And if people want to use that money for the deficit and the debt to a certain extent, I'm okay with that. We don't really need to have taxes to spend money. We've proven that over and over again. We need taxes to control wealth and income disparity because it skews the political power in the country. It also makes life much harder for people at the lower end of the spectrum. And by lower end of the spectrum, I mean like literally the bottom 60%, 70%. Go ahead.
2013, Congress extended the Bush tax cuts for everyone except those making more than $400,000 a year. This bipartisan decision saved the Treasury $600 billion, helping to narrow the deficit. Do you agree that ending the tax cuts for those making more than $400,000 would help close the deficit and reduce our national debt?
Senator Warnock, I do not. I believe that you would capture an inordinate amount of small business people who largely are in that cohort of 400,000 to a
So
million.
you wouldn't cut it off at 400,000. What about $1 million?
Oh, pause it for 1 second. I just want to make something clear here. If you're making $400,000 and taxes go up, and the top marginal rate for people making over 400,000, the taxes are going to hit the money over $400,000. So it's not going to, like, you're going to get your, whatever you're getting on your $400,000 today, you're going to get tomorrow. It's just that anything over that is going to be taxed at a slightly probably higher rate.
Well, that's a little complicated, Sam. Could you fit that on an index card?
I mean, I could. If you're paying, I don't know, $150,000 on your $400,000 today, you'll be paying at for $500,000, you'll be paying closer to another, assuming like a 33% tax rate on your 400,000, right? I'm not great at the math. I couldn't do it.
I'm wrong with sizing because it was postcard. If you recall, that was the Trump administration saying it needed to be on your tax return on a postcard.
This is income tax we're talking about, right?
We're talking about income tax.
Yeah.
So if I was, I'm a small business owner. Hey, everybody. If I was making $400,000 a year, I would probably reinvest more of that in my business. I probably wouldn't. I'd probably consider myself more of a medium business owner.
If you're going to kick out, I mean, it would encourage more. It would encourage more business spending. So, let's just be clear. The idea that this is going to affect people's jobs is exactly the opposite. It would encourage you to spend that more on extra money on expanding your business.
Yep.
So that instead of making $450,000 this year, next year you can make $600,000.
It's a great point.
Good.
To a million.
So you wouldn't cut it off at 400,000. What about $1 million?
That again, I believe these are small business pass-through owners, and I believe that we, as I said before, Wall Street's done great. It is time for Main Street to do well, and small businesses need to drive what I call the reprivatization here away from this government spending.
I agree that it's Main Street's time. I'm from Atlanta, so I'll say Peachtree and some other locations in my state. What about those making more than 10 million? Would we reduce the deficit by extending those tax cuts for folks making about $10 million?
So again, I think it's important that we put in incentives for them to invest. So going back to the 100% depreciation for equipment, that I think that.
So, and I don't mean to keep interrupting, but I'm the pastor, and we're known to be loquacious of speech, but I'm running out of time here. What about $1 billion?
So again, that I think that these are the job creators.
So there's no income level for which you would support raising taxes. Is that fair?
There is no income level that I don't think we should continue the TCJA as it was.
There you go. For the working man.
Art Laffer was the guy who came up with the concept for Ronald Reagan that if you cut money, I mean, if you increase taxes on wealthy people, there's a graph. And as taxes go up, the desire for people to make money goes down and they start making less money. And it was this formula that was adopted in Kansas under Sam Brownback. Because Art Laffer said and particularly with pass-throughs, which was in that middle area that he was talking about, particularly with pass-throughs, and they play with it. It's not just like, we're going to cut income tax. It's like we're going to change the tax code and massage it in a way in which you can avoid taxes because you can declare it in a different way, et cetera, et cetera. And the idea is that if you cut taxes, the theory is it's going to generate more revenue. What? Yes, because it's going to generate more economic activity. So instead of like getting big tax payments from a certain set of individuals, you're going to get more tax payments from more individuals. And it's going to turn Kansas into an economic powerhouse. It was really the purest example of the Laffer curve put into effect. Laffer was Brownback's primary advisor. And they did this, and it took about a year and a half or 2 years before the Republican-controlled State House said, we've got to re-raise taxes because we have been decimated by this. Our once famed education system in Kansas, our higher education, has been decimated by this. Our lower grades education system has been decimated by this. In fact, it was such an embarrassment for Republicans and conservative ideology that Donald Trump lifted Sam Brownback out of Kansas and made him ambassador to, you ready for this? Faith.
Oh.
So that he could live in the ether and nobody could track him down.
Yeah. He just had to talk to Jesus the whole
Cloud
time.
9.
I mean, this is how bad this theory is for questions of frankly, of productivity, of job creation, of revenue. No, it doesn't work. All of them are made up theories to justify allowing rich people to have more and more economic and ultimately political power. That's it.
Love working people.
Kowalski from Nebraska says Kansas and Nebraska were neck and neck in infrastructure and education. Their tax policy saw us take wildly different paths. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.